a lot of bands, when they start off small, they obviously are not thinking about wireless, but as they grow and they develop and they start moving away from these small bars and clubs and into larger stages, they start realizing, hey, we need a wireless solution for our live sound. What advice do you have for a group that's finally got there and they're struggling and they're not really sure what they're doing?
The main thing to consider is television, what active television you have in your area. And the main differences between all of the wireless lines from all the manufacturers typically is the amount of frequencies available in the box. So you want to know what your active television channels are. You also want to factor in how many wireless microphones and guitar systems, bass systems in your monitors. Overall, what type and how many wireless products you want to use, not now, but think 5 years from now. Because as soon as the singer starts using a wireless mic, suddenly guitar player's like, hey, that might be cool. So as you start adding on, just like a mixing board, plan 12 more channels than you think you'll ever need because you'll fill them up, same thing applies. And if you're only going to be using 3 or 4 or 5 wireless mics, there's not necessarily a huge need to always step into the high end. But when you start getting into 60, 70, 80 microphones, then you pretty much are limited to some of the higher end systems. So like everything when you're buying gear, plan out long time ahead. If you are a regional band and you start touring nationwide, one of the main things you want to worry about is frequency agility and the ease of the agility in the systems, so you can always find a clean channel.
Now, one thing that a lot of people who are not used to wireless don't anticipate are things like dropping the unit, sweat and moisture, heat, extremes of heat and cold. How should a band deal with that sort of thing when they're getting their first wireless system together?
If your lead singer is on a wireless mic, always have a hardwired mic hidden somewhere, just in case the guitar player or drummer forgot to change the batteries. Always have extra batteries on hand, definitely. And as far as the sweat and the moisture, it all depends on the style. Obviously, belt packs can sometimes be a little bit more susceptible to sweat and perspiration because it is, again, right next to them. Theater applications have a lot of sweat running down. Different things you can do specifically for belt packs. A lot of systems you can take let's pull this off the wall here. You can actually take the belt clip off and turn it upside down so you can wear the belt pack upside down, which will help a lot of the time with the sweat dripping off the cable. If you have it up, sometimes it can get down into that connector. Typically, all pro audio gear, you let it dry out, it's going to work. The wireless mics, dropping them from the Shure line, everything goes through the same quality tests as the hardwired SM58. So if it drops, pick it up, it's going to work. Simple advice, don't drop your mics.
Just one last question. When a band is, again, growing into wireless, they're purchasing a wireless system, they're taking into account all this advice, how far ahead into the future should a band plan? I mean, you talked about the guitar getting one, and the drums getting one, and the singer getting one. How much redundancy do you really need?
Well, drummer doesn't never need to be wireless in my opinion, so the less RF you have open in the stage, yeah, it's cool because I got wireless in your monitors and the singer gets to run around. If you're a drummer, go hardwired. The fewer pieces of radio frequency equipment you have up and running at one time, the better they will work. Unfortunately, we as musicians typically buy the wrong thing 3 times, invest the right amount the first time, and make sure that that product will continue to be used. And don't go through the same thing like we've all done with our stomp boxes and finally get to the one that works after we bought the wrong thing 3 times.
What do you see the biggest mistake people making when they buy their first wireless system?
The antenna placement. Antenna placement is critical. Line of sight. Whenever you're using a wireless mic, whether it's a lapel or a handheld, you want to make sure that this antenna can physically see this antenna. One of the main problems we have is you get a rack of wireless, it goes back by the soundboard, it goes on the bottom, on the floor, behind the soundboard. We as human beings are salt water. We absorb high-end audio frequencies, which is why the room sounds different when the crowd's not there. We also absorb radio frequencies. So what you want to be able to do is, if you have a fixed antenna system where the antennas don't come off, you want to physically take those receivers and get them up above the crowd so that, again, this antenna can see the receiver antenna. To the flip side, you can also get too close to them. You want to be at least 10 feet away, but within 300 feet. So a lot of times a guitar player will have the receiver unit right down by them. It will typically work fine, but you sometimes can overload the RF input by having the transmitter or receiver too close. But the main thing is line of sight with the antennas. It's the number one problem we typically see.
That's Kevin Spiegel for Shure. I'm Joe Wallace from the floor of AES 2006 for Gearwire.com.